Alrighty, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Okay. What?
You woke us up.
I woke you up, exactly. Okay, good. I'm hoping I do. I hope I keep you awake too. It's harder to keep you awake than it is to wake you up. So here we go. First of all, before we get started, I want to thank you for coming out here. It's a beautiful day. We finally have spring here in Michigan, and you decided to spend your time here, which is deeply appreciated by me. So I want to give you a big thank you and give yourselves a big round of applause. It may be the only one you get all day. I also want to thank the amazing staff of the show Bet Yehuda, Partners Detroit, and Prime 10 for putting on this beautiful lunch and learn, our beautiful sheets, our beautiful source sheets, and our food and everything set up so beautifully. And I want to thank the amazing people over at Torah Anytime. It's a website, TorahAnytime.com. It's an app available in Google Play and your Apple iStore. And it has tens of thousands of hours of Jewish lectures in video and audio format from hundreds of different lecturers, 99% better than me. So please, check it out, download some classes, listen to some. You don't have to download, you just live stream them, you can listen to them. There's a, yes?
Which app is this?
Torah Anytime.
Oh.
So there's an app, it's called Torah Anytime, and then there's also a website called TorahAnytime.com. So if you're working in the kitchen, and you're, peeling potatoes, making kugel, whatever you're doing, just pop it on. My wife, by the way, listens to Torah Anytime all the time when she's preparing for Shabbos, and it fills our home with great wisdom. Okay. That's right. There you go. Let's give that a round of applause. Sure. Okay. So, we're going to get started right away because we have so much to cover. I may talk faster today than I normally talk, which is weird because I normally talk pretty fast. But we've got so much to cover, so much important material. We left off at a gripping moment. The last time we talked about Lag BaOmer, but the time before that we talked about the brothers. How could the brothers hate Joseph so much that they wanted to kill him? Okay, so we're going to do a quick recap because it's going to launch us into what we're going to talk about today. Let's first review the relevant verses, okay? Source number 1 in your source sheets, Bereishis, Lamed, Zion, Genesis 37. Vayeshev Yaakov Eretz Migurei Aviv, and Yaakov settled in the land of his father's residence in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob, when Joseph was 17 years old. Being a shepherd, he was with his brothers, with the flock, and he was a lad, with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought evil tales about them to their father. Yisrael, which is another name for Joseph, for Yaakov, loved Yosef more than any of his sons, for he was a son of his old age, and he made him a long, colorful cloak. His brothers saw that their father loved him more than all the other brothers, and they hated him. Okay, so we got this whole jealousy story going on. And as you know, Yosef has a couple dreams. The brothers are all bowing down to him. And they decide that rather than bow, we'd rather kill, right? Before I bend the knee, right? So what's this going on? And they decide to kill him. Which in the end, they decide instead, let's go easy on him. Let's sell him as a slave down to Egypt. Okay, so we're going to try to, we already spoke about a bunch of questions. We covered some of them last week. So first of all, by the way, just one more key source over here that's going to be important today in today's conversation is, it says like this, Ki ben zikunim hulo, he was a son of his old age. So Onkelos translates it, says Rashi, as he was a wise son to him. Because all that Yaakov had learned from the yeshiva of Shem and Aver, which if you remember Yaakov went to for 14 years when he was fleeing his brother Esav. He was fleeing Esau before he went to go live with Lavan. He spent 14 years holed up in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver, and everything that he learned there, he passed on to Yosef. And if you remember from last time we talked, there were 6 major questions that we asked. Let's review the 6 questions, and then we'll see which ones we already answered, and then we're going to answer the rest of them, hopefully today, and we'll see how it's super relevant to our lives today here in 2018. Number 1, why is this called the history of Yaakov? Eila told us Yaakov. Right? This is the history of Yaakov, but it's really not. It's the story of Yosef and his brothers. Yosef is the one who they're all jealous of. They sell him into slavery. Why is this called, this is the Toldos, the offspring, the history of Yaakov? The word Toldos here means like, sort of to tell over the story of his history. This is not Yaakov's history. This is the history of Yosef and his brothers. That was question number 1. Then we said, why did Yaakov love Yosef more than the other brothers? Such a great man to show favoritism. Seems strange. And why did he display favoritism towards him? Next question we asked, why did Yaakov only teach, if he was going to, first of all, why did he teach specific Torah just to Yosef? Right? If you got Torah, give it to everybody. Give it to all your kids. Sit them down, make a class. Here we go. Instead of just having a one-on-one, have a class. Discuss it. Why did he teach specific Torah to specifically Yosef? And furthermore, if for whatever reason he favored Yosef, why did he specifically teach him the things he learned in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver? Is there a different kind of Torah that he learned in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver than that he learned in his father's house? Yaakov grew up in a house with Yitzchak, one of the great patriarchs, as his father, and Abraham, one of the great patriarchs, as his grandfather. You would assume he learned an awful lot from them too. Why is he specifically teaching Yosef the stuff that he learned, the material that he learned in Yeshiva Shem Aver? Next, where does the hatred of brothers come from? Right? And if you're going to say it's because Yosef was sort of looked like he might be a king or something because they were going to bow down to him, when Yehuda is given the blessings that he is going to be the king forever, the scepter shall not leave Yehuda. Lo yasser shevet mi Yehuda. When Yaakov gives blessings to his children and he lets them know that Yehuda, the tribe of Judah, is going to be the tribe that will carry the scepter of the Jewish sovereignty throughout history, no one wants to kill Yehuda for that. But yet with Yosef, they do want to kill him. Why? And if they did hate him, how could it possibly be that they would want to kill him? Like, none of us has ever done that. We've never wanted to kill our siblings. We may have said that, I want to kill you. We may have thought that. You maybe did, I don't know. But you definitely didn't, like, seriously contemplate it. Like, did you have, like, in suicide prevention, if someone has a plan, that's always a much worse sign. People say, I'm just going to kill myself. That is a warning sign because people generally don't say that. But people often say that, like, in a way, like, like where they don't mean it as seriously. But if someone actually has a plan, that's a really, like, a big warning sign. In the world of psychology, when someone has a plan, we take it even more seriously. We take it seriously anytime someone says that. Because regular people don't talk like that. However, when someone tells you a plan, you start getting really nervous. So, they had here a plan to kill him. And even though in the end, they ended up deciding to just sell him, what was going on? Like, you didn't, even if you said, I want to kill my sibling to yourself one time, right? And even if you thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I didn't have an older sibling? But you never started actually formulating a plan. Like, that's not how it worked. These brothers, they got a whole plan going. We're going to kill him, and we're going to slaughter a goat, and we're going to bring his blood to the father and show him that he must have been killed by a wild animal. Like, they had a full plan formulated. They threw him into a pit that was filled with snakes and scorpions. I mean, they were. This was not a joke for them. Now, last week, or last time that we learned about this, we explained from the brothers' perspective. And to give a quick, brief overview, if you weren't here 2 weeks ago, and you didn't catch it later on Torah Anytime, because if you miss a class here, you can always catch it on Torah Anytime, that amazing app and website. Okay, so the brothers, essentially, if we look at throughout Jewish history, we notice that the patriarchs do not give their spiritual legacy to everybody. Abraham has a total of 8 children. Yitzchak, our patriarch, Yishmael, the famous son who gets sent away, and then he later on in life, after Sarah dies, has 6 more children, and he sends all of them eastward with gifts. And they're never heard of again. So Abraham clearly has lots of children, but clearly says, my spiritual legacy is only going down through one of them. Yitzchak has 2 children, Yaakov and Esav. And yet, clearly, the spiritual legacy only goes down through one of them, through Yaakov. Esav is just the bad guy in history. Yaakov has 12 children. They're a very bright group of people. And they see that the pattern has been that everyone's always lost, like there's always been one person taking it and everyone else missing out on it. And when Yosef starts telling bad reports about them to their father and having these dreams where everyone's bowing down to him, and we showed specific verses where the language was very similar, indicating that Yosef was posturing to take the entire spiritual legacy. They felt that he was not only coming after them, but coming after their entire spiritual future. They felt he was a rodave. They felt he was like a murderer trying to kill off the spiritual legacy of their entire future, and they had to get him out of the picture. That we explained last time in greater length. If you missed it, you can catch it on Torah Anytime, that web app and a website. Okay, fine. You got that. Now, we've covered really the brothers' part, but what about from Yaakov's part? There's still a bunch of questions we left unanswered. Why is this called the history of Yaakov? Why did Yaakov love Yosef more than the brothers? Why did he display favoritism? Why did Yaakov only teach certain Torah to Yosef? Why was it specifically the Torah he learned in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver? Shem, by the way, is one of the 3 children of Noah, right? Noah had 3 children, Shem, Cham, and Yafes, right? So Aver is his grandchild. So what did he learn there that was different? And there's one more question I'd never asked before. It says, the brothers now, let's remember, the brothers here are highly, highly spiritual people. These are the people who would end up fathering the entirety of the Jewish people, the 12 tribes of Israel. What are they jealous of their brother for? That their father gave him a coat? Really? Like, be jealous that your father is teaching him Torah, that they're not teaching all of you. Think about that. What are they jealous of? Why did he get the Cartier watch? Why did he get the Cartier watch? Really? Why aren't you jealous of the fact that Yaakov is teaching Yosef volumes of Torah that you're not getting? If I was a great rabbi, a Cartier watch means nothing to me. Let me tell you an amazing story. This is totally off topic, but it's such an amazing story that I got to say it right now. But it will kind of reflect back. There was a man who made a fortune here in America, and he moved to Israel after making a fortune. He was a very devout Jew, and he moved to the city of Bnei Brak, which is a very holy city, filled with lots of people learning Torah. And he went to go study Torah for the rest of his life. He decided, I'm dedicating my life to studying Torah. He sold his business, moved to Israel, and he sat and learned for the rest of his life. Quick blessing to the one God above who gives us this amazing H2O, which, believe it or not, I'm 66% this. Isn't that amazing? You are too, by the way. It's kind of cool. Alrighty, here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol niyeh b'dvaro. You'd think it'd be easier to lose a little excess water, right? No. Okay. If we're 67% water, it should be pretty easy to lose weight. But no, it doesn't work like that. Just go outside in the sun and sweat for a while, right? No. Okay. Anyway, this man moves to Bnei Brak. And he gave up everything he had in America. He had a very successful business. He made a lot of money. And when he moved to Bnei Brak, there was just one thing that he liked to do. He liked good, big American luxury cars. They don't sell good, big American luxury cars in Israel. They really don't, right? They don't. Like, you can get luxury cars. They sell Mercedes in Israel and BMW, but the good American back in the day, like those big caddies with the very comfortable chairs, and they don't sell like American luxurious boats, right? So this guy would buy American cars and have them imported to Israel specifically for him. These nice, beautiful American luxury cars, and he would get a new one every 2 years or so. Which, by the way, was nothing for him. He was a very wealthy man, and he was living in Bnei Brak. But it always bothered his wife, because in Bnei Brak, a lot of people are living in a level of poverty, and she felt like you're arousing jealousy. By the way, interesting note, one of the few things, I don't have a commandment, don't make you angry, right? I mean, I shouldn't get you, I'm not allowed to say hurtful things to you, that's not allowed, but I don't have a commandment to not make you angry. You have a commandment to not get angry. It's not like you tell me, Leiby, don't make people angry. But we do have very specific rules that we're not supposed to arouse jealousy in others. That is very real. That's very real. So, this guy's wife felt like, you're just arousing jealousy. Like, it's bad enough, like everyone knows that you have a lot of money because you came and you sold this big business in America, but when you buy a new American car every 2 years, have it imported to Israel, you're the only guy driving around in Bnei Brak with an Oldsmobile, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it is, it's going to cause jealousy. And his point was like, look, I gave up everything. I used to have this massive house. Now I live in a much smaller, more modest, I'm living a very modest lifestyle in general. This is the one thing I like to sit in a comfortable car. It's what I'm used to. But she was really adamant. And finally she said to him, why don't you go speak to Rav Chaim Kanievsky? Rav Chaim Kanievsky is, thank God, still alive today. He should live and be well for until he's 150. Because we have a dearth of great sages today, so we'll give him an extra 30 years. And his wife said, go speak to Rav Chaim Kanievsky. If he says it's okay, then you could drive the car. Okay? This guy goes to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky and he says, Rabbi, I don't know what to do. I came from America. I was a very successful businessman. I sold a very large house and a very successful business. And I moved here and I dedicated my life to studying Torah. And the only thing I really enjoy, nice, big, comfortable cars. And, like the American kind. And I get a new car every 2 years. But my wife is very concerned that it's arousing jealousy in the neighborhood and the neighbors. So what does the Rav say? So Rav Chaim Kanievsky looks at him and says, did you finish Shas? Shas is the entire Talmud. He says, did you finish Shas already? The guy says, no. Did you finish half of Shas? Did you finish half of the Talmud? The guy's like, kind of embarrassed, but he said, no. Do you have any tractate in the Talmud that you know really well that I could test you on right now? No. Right? The rabbi looks at him and says, there's not even a single, because there are tractates in the Talmud that are 30 pages long, 25 pages, 24, 23 pages long. The rabbi says, there's not a single tractate in the entire Talmud that you've studied that I could test you on right now? The man says, no. Rav Chaim Kanievsky looks at him and says, don't worry, nobody's jealous of you. Now again, that just gives you a perspective on where Rav Chaim Kanievsky is, right? So Rav Chaim Kanievsky is a great sage, and he can't even imagine, why would somebody be jealous of you because of a caddy? Who cares about a caddy? Do you know Torah? Do you learn? That I can imagine someone would be jealous of you, but I can't even imagine, why would anybody be jealous of you because you have a big car? Who cares? Now again, there are many people who do care about other people having big cars. And the story of Rav Chaim Kanievsky kind of just illustrates for us. But here we have the brothers. These are some of the greatest human beings to ever live. And they're jealous of their brother because he got a nice coat. Why aren't they jealous because he knows more Torah than them? Why aren't they jealous that he has these private one-on-one sessions with Yaakov Avinu where he's learning special Torah? Okay. And by the way, let's see. How do I know? Maybe they were jealous of the Torah. Well, let's see. Source number 3, Babylonian Talmud, Tractate Shabbos, 10b. Source number 3 says, Rabbi Bar Mechasya says in the name of Rav Chama Bar Guraya in the name of Rav, La'olam al yashana adam b'no ben abanim. A person should never single out one son amongst his other sons. For an account of 2 selas weight of silk, which Yaakov gave to Yosef in excess of his brother's sons, the brothers became jealous of him, and the matter resulted in our forefathers' descent into Egypt. So here, this source from the Talmud is telling you that the jealousy was over the coat, not over the Torah study. Really? How could that be? Okay. Now, we're going to get a little mystical today, so I just got to give you a little disclaimer. Okay? We're going to get a little bit more mystical than we normally get today. We are going to today get more mystical than we normally do. Here we go. There are 3 patriarchs, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Who was the best one? I'm asking you, we're going to have a raise of hand straw poll here. You ready? If you think the best of the patriarchs was Abraham, raise your hand.
Best in what way?
Best. Don't get all technical on me over here. You're going to have to pick one. You can pick anyone you want. You can say, or you can pick, you have the option of picking none. Okay, so Avram, raise of hand. Okay. Yitzchak, raise of hand. Who thinks Yitzchak is the best one? Okay. And Yaakov, who thinks Yaakov is the best one? And who here is not sure and does not want to answer any specific answer? That's fine. That's fair. That's totally fair. Okay, you're good. You're totally cool like that. You're totally cool. You're going to go home today. What did the rabbi tell you today? What did you learn in the rabbi's session? I learned that I'm totally cool. Evidently, I didn't know that before. The rabbi said. Okay, fine. Okay, so the answer is Yaakov. Yaakov is called the Bechir Sheva Avos, the choicest of the patriarchs. Really? Why is that? Let's see. First of all, the source. You got a source for it. And the source is the Maharal. The Maharal is the great Rabbi Yehuda Lowy, the Maharal of Prague. This is in Drush al Torah. And he says, the choicest, the Bechir Sheba Avos ze Yaakov. The choicest of the Avos is Yaakov Shenamar, Ki Yaakov Bachar Lo Kav, Amar Lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Anochi Imcha. Because it says in the verse, Yaakov, for God chose Yaakov for himself, Yisrael as his treasure, and the pasuk says that Hashem says to him, and behold, I am with you, and I will guard you wherever you go, etc., etc. So the Maharal tells us that Yaakov was a favorite. Why? So, it's a fascinating idea. And it's not necessarily specifically on account of what Yaakov did, but more on account of what was in Yaakov's DNA. Alrighty.
How does God have a favorite?
How does God have a favorite? Good question. I like that. That's a great question. Okay, but we'll see what it means in a moment. It doesn't mean that Yaakov was necessarily better, but we'll see why he was the choicest. Okay. There's a concept in Judaism that everything sort of goes between 2 poles. One is called chesed, and one is called din. Kindness and judgment or discipline. Both of them are necessary. They're absolutely necessary in the world. If you had no kindness, how many people would be dead today? How many people would never been born because their parents would not have had the kindness to bring them into the world? Kindness is super, super, super important. Discipline also is super important. When you have total kindness with no discipline, chaos ensues. A parent that just gives their child whatever they want because they're so kind creates chaos in a child. A society in which we just say, we're going to give you everything. You don't have to work for it. Don't worry. You don't have to earn it. Don't worry. It's not a meritocracy. Don't worry. You just got it because you exist is a society that will fall into chaos. There has to be rules. There has to be discipline. There has to be rule of law. Now, the problem is that kindness has great sides, but also bad sides. The good side of kindness is when we properly take care of those who need to be taken care of. The bad side of kindness is where we just keep giving and giving, even where it's inappropriate. As a matter of fact, interestingly, in the Torah, when the Torah describes the abominable act of two siblings living together, and I don't mean, intimately, the Torah calls it a chesed. Chesed who? What? It's a kindness? What do you mean it's a kindness? That's inappropriate. Two siblings being intimate. Okay, I'm not saying living together in the same house. I'm talking about... So, the answer is it means it's an overextension of kindness. It's you being kind in a way and in a place that you're not supposed to be. It's being too kind. A person who is very promiscuous is an abomination of kindness because he's being kind too much to too many people. So the sages explain to us that the bad side of kindness is sexual immorality. We're just open free love for everybody. Right? That's unfortunately, right, the whole revolution, right? Just let's be kind to everybody and anybody in any way we want. Who cares? No consequences. No need for any kind of structure of family, commitment. None of that. None of that. Just let's be kind to everybody. Now, the bad side of discipline, there's a lot of good to discipline. We need to live disciplined lives. The horrific, the most extreme problem with discipline is I become a murderer. Why? Because you don't fit in my box. And I'm so disciplined, when you don't fit in my box, I cut you down. A murderer is a person who disciplines too many people. A promiscuous person is a person who's too kind to too many people. A murderer is a person who disciplines too much and to too many people. Now, listen to this amazing thought. Abraham is the pillar of kindness. Abraham is the Amud HaChesed in the world. He is so kind. He's sitting by his tent when he's 3 days post-surgery looking for people to run after and beg them to come into his house so he can prepare them a meal and feed them. Abraham is the absolute paragon of kindness. But the problem is, when you have kindness DNA, the kindness DNA has the good side and the bad side. So, when Abraham has two primary children, Yitzchak and Yishmael, Yitzchak ends up getting the good kindness, and Yishmael gets the dross. Anybody here know what the word dross means? Dross is like the impurities, like when you mine silver, you hack a chunk of silver out of the bedrock. So it's got all kinds of other junk in there. And what do? They burn the silver up, and all the impurities burn away, and the silver becomes a liquid, and then it melts, and they pour it into an ingot, and there you go. You got a nice little thing of silver. And it burns away the impurities. Yishmael is known as a people, Kabbalistically, they're known as the people that were shtufei zima, which means awash with sexual immorality. And we know throughout the times that the Muslim rulers had entire harems full of women, and there was like a lot of, and what's fascinating now is, you know how if you walk into a room and all your kids in your room, and one of your kids goes like this, you're like, well, what do you got there behind your back, right? What's going on? Or you walk into the room and the cookie jar is open, and one kid is like all the way in the other corner. Like, let me see your hands. Let me see those crumbs on your hands. I know, in a second, because you're trying a little bit too hard. It's fascinating that in the Muslim world, they make women like not only cover up, but like cover up everything, like literally. What's the obsession? What's going on over here? It's like the lady doth protest too much. There's a sign that something here is not right in the way of sexual morality. When you are going to such extreme where you're like covering your women from head to toe, literally faces and everything, just, there's something that says maybe you've got a problem in that area. Okay. So, Avram, who is the Amud HaChesed, who's the pillar of kindness, and kindness has a flip side that is called sexual immorality. He has two children, Yitzchak and Yishmael, two primary children. One of them ends up getting the good stuff, and one of them ends up getting the dross. Yitzchak is the Amud HaGevura, the pillar of strength and din and discipline. You look at his whole life. I mean, he literally colors in the lines. If you look at his life, it's amazing. He goes exactly where his father goes. He digs the exact same names that his father, the same wells that his father dug. He names them the same names that his father named them. Here is a man who colors within the lines. Talk about structure. He is rigid. And in a good way. We need discipline in our lives. However, the negative side of discipline, we said before, is murder. He has two children. One's name is Yaakov, and one's name is Esav. Yaakov ends up getting the good stuff. Esav ends up getting the negative side of that DNA, the murderous rage. Esav is the people that found, meaning the descendants of Esav are Rome. Rome, my wife was in Rome 2 days ago, and she sent pictures from the Colosseum. What was the Colosseum? And they were all over the Roman Empire. The big one is in Rome, but there were other Colosseums all over the place, stadiums, where they would watch people murder each other for sport. Do you know there was regular games once a week or so, but there were sometimes like the Super Bowl Sunday, right? So when they had a Super Bowl style day, like a big celebration, you could be sitting in the gallery of the Colosseum and literally watch 10,000 human beings murdered in one day for sport. Fathers who have children back at home who are ripped away from their homes and put in slave chains and dragged to Rome and forced to fight as gladiators. They would put midgets into the arena to fight wild animals, like crazy for fun, in between the big games while they were resetting the stage. I don't know if you noticed, but the stage of the Colosseum was set up such as that they had little naval battles. They could flood the whole thing with water and have little naval battles inside of it. Now, of course, after the naval battle, before you can have the next one, you have a downtime as the people are setting up the set. So in the meantime, take a couple of human beings with deformities or cripples or whatever it was, throw them in the middle and let them fight with each other. So funny, right? So funny. How could it be? People sitting there watching other people kill themselves. Kill each other, for sport. 10,000 human beings cut down in a day for sport. This is the same people. The descendants of Esav are the Christians. Right? The Christians come from, if you look at the bloodline of the Christians, they come from the family of Esav. The Christians would go on Sundays to watch Jews being burned at the stake. It's called the auto de fe. Throughout the Spanish and the Portuguese Inquisition. Hey, what's going on this weekend? I don't know. Is there any sports? No, it's one of those few weird weeks where football season is over, baseball season hasn't started yet, there is basketball and hockey going on, but both teams are out of town. What are we going to do? Go to metrotimes.com, things to do for children. Oh, there's an auto de fe. Oh, great. Let's go. That's amazing. Let's go watch. I didn't know they were burning Jews this week. This is amazing. I wanted to forget. Who cares about football? And they're burning Jews this weekend. And in towns all over Europe, cities all over Europe, be a great celebration. The whole town would come out in their Sunday finest to watch them burning the Jews at the stake. A family of Jews who would not renounce their faith, and they've got these fires lit up all across, and they got the priest going up. Are you sure do you want to confess right now? Confess your sin, blah, blah, blah. And then no, and then the crowd starts roaring, burn them, burn them, burn them. And then the priest comes and he holds the thing up and everyone's quiet. And he makes his whole speech, da-da-da-da. And then he takes the thing and he throws it on the pyre. And the family starts burning. The screams are raising. And the crowd is screaming in a frenzy. What kind of murderous, psychotic people are they? That's the dross of discipline. If you don't convert to my way, I'll kill you. I'm going to wipe you all out. I'm going to burn you at the stakes. I'm going to watch 10,000 people kill each other at a coliseum for fun. Can you please pass the chips? Hot dogs, hot dogs. Okay. Yitzchak was the paragon of discipline, of din. But din has two sides. The good side, where I'm disciplined, I go to where I'm supposed to go, when I'm supposed to go, I show up on time, I act in a certain way, I don't eat too much, I'm courteous, I follow the rules, I color within the lines of society. And then it has the absolute, where it's gone off the rails, and that's murder. And that he gives over to his son Esav. Al charbecha tichye, you'll live on your sword. So now comes along Yaakov. Yaakov, interestingly, is smack in the middle. He has his father's DNA of kindness, and his father's DNA of discipline, and his grandfather's DNA of kindness. And he has the two of them in perfect blend and balance, which is what we should all be striving for in life, to have a proper composition of kindness and discipline. That, by the way, is called, in Kabbalistic terms, tiferes, which means glory. You are glorious when you know how to properly make the correct mixture of kindness and discipline. You know when to be kind and when to be disciplined. You're not too kind, you're not too disciplined. You are pretty much close to perfect. Which is, by the way, why Yaakov is the Bechir Sheba Avos. That's why Yaakov is the choicest of the forefathers. Now, by the way, Yaakov could never have been Yaakov if not for an Avram and Yitzchak. If not for one man saying, I am going to be the absolute paragon of kindness no matter what, he wouldn't have been able to have such strong kindness DNA. And if it wouldn't be for a Yitzchak, who was the absolute paragon of Gevura, of strength and discipline, he wouldn't have that DNA. So in order to get to where he got, like I said, it wasn't really so much what Yaakov did specifically, but really his DNA makeup. He was it's like they say, don't buy a car in the first year that it comes out, that new model. They haven't worked out all the gremlins yet. You buy it in the second year, the third year. They've already gone through it. They found out there was a problem with the software. They found out there was a problem with the windshield wipers. They found out, because once it got out on the road. So you can't have a third-year car perfectly redone if you didn't have a first year and a second year. So it's not like to say that Yaakov was inherently, because of his actions, better than Avram and Yitzchak. It just means that because of his spiritual makeup, he had the perfect blend. Okay, now, because of that, by the way, there's a rule. Let's see the rule. The rule is source number 5. And we brought this up actually last time as well. Chata Yisrael. Israel has sinned, says the prophet Joshua, Yoshua. And the Gemara in Masechta Sanhedrin, Tractate Sanhedrin, Mem Daled Amud Aleph 44a says Rabbi Abba the son of Zavda, Afal Pisha Chata Yisrael. Even when he sins, he's still Yisrael. Which means that because Yisrael is the perfect blend of kindness and discipline, Avram, who was extreme kindness, had some dross that had to get burned out. So not all of his kids made it. Yitzchak, that was extreme discipline, had some dross that didn't get worked out. And that's why Esav didn't make it. But Yaakov, because he was the perfect blend, all of his kids make it. And we, as the children of Yisrael, even when we mess up, it's within the bounds and we're still in the circle. So if you're a Jew, no matter what you do, you're still a Jew. People say to me sometimes, "Oh, Rabbi, you probably wouldn't even consider me Jewish." And to me, it's so hurtful to hear that. Chas v'shalom. God forbid. God forbid. If you're a Jew, there's nothing in the world that you could do that will make you not a Jew. You could be son of Sam, right? You could be a psychopathic killer. You could eat pork on Yom Kippur while burning fires and whatever. You're still a Yid. Yisrael, Chata Yisrael, says the prophet, the Jewish people have sinned. Once you are born into the stock of Israel, you are Jewish, you are within the circle. No matter what you do, you're still within the circle. Nothing's getting burned out anymore. No more dross. We already worked out all the dross in the first 2 generations. In the Avram dross, Yitzchak dross, Yisrael, Yaakov, no dross. That's why he's the perfect ones of the Avos. And that's why Yisrael, we say, mitaso shlema. His bed was complete, which meant that when he died, all of his sons were on the right path. All of his sons. Not so for the other forefathers, necessarily. They saw a lot of huge mistakes in their children that kind of moved them out. So, now, where do we go from here? So, like this. There is one problem. There actually is a chink in Yaakov's armor. Yaakov has amazing armor, right? Yisrael, even if he sins, he's still Yisrael. There's one sin that you could do that will get you to spill out of the circle. Here's the circle of the Jewish people, protected, strong. There's one sin that a person could do that will cause them to sort of let out of the circle, get out of the circle of the Jewish people. What sin is that? What? Not idol worship. Here's how it works. When a Jew has a child with a non-Jewish woman, the child is not Jewish. That's an example of where a Jew can commit a sin, and because of that, his future gets out of the system. Unfortunately, it's very sad. And it's something we're facing right now in a major, major, major way. Yisrael Shechata is still Yisrael, but there's one sin where a person can have a child with a non-Jew, and that child is not going to be Jewish. They've fallen out of the circle. And Yaakov is very, very aware of this. And there's going to be one person in the history of the world who's going to teach us how to stop ourselves from impropriety in the area of sexuality. And that is Joseph. When does Joseph become a great person? Let's see the source right here inside. Source number 7. Genesis 39, 6 through 12. And Joseph had handsome features and a beautiful complexion. Now it came to pass, after these events, that his master's wife, the wife of Potiphar, lifted up her eyes to Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused. And he said to his master's wife, "Behold, with me, my master knows nothing about anything in the house. He's given me everything to do. And all that he has given into my hand. He's given me everything. He put me in charge of his entire estate. In his house there is no one greater than I, and he has not withheld anything from me except you." Meaning my master, Potiphar, has made me absolute ruler over his vast estate. I'm in charge of the production, I'm in charge of trade, I'm in charge of everything. He's lifted me up and given me this incredible opportunity. I came as a low slave boy, and now I'm the CFO of his entire estate. And all he asked of me is, don't touch my wife. And he has not withheld anything from me except you, insofar as you as his wife. How can I commit this great evil and sin against God? Now it came about when she spoke to Joseph, day in and day out, that he did not obey her. He kept saying no. He would say to lie beside her, to be with her. And it came on a certain day that he came to the house to do his work, and none of the people were home. So she grabbed him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me," but he left the garment in her hand and fled and went outside. To understand, this was the absolute greatest test of seduction in the history of mankind. Let's understand the scenario. Yosef is a child. He's 17 years old. He's beautiful. His family has betrayed him absolutely. They sold him into slavery. Right? Have you ever heard a Jewish person say, "Yeah, you know what? You know why I don't care about Judaism? Because when I was in Hebrew school, the teachers used to always yell at me, and they kicked me out of Hebrew school," right? They have excuses. That's your excuse. That's why you're 65 years old and still totally disengaged from Judaism, because when you were 7, they kicked you out of Hebrew school because you were pulling the girl's hair in front of you or whatever it was, right? That's your great excuse. Okay, fine. But people do that. We do that. We all do that. We all love to blame everybody else for our own failures. We blame our parents. We blame the school. Now, Yosef has a pretty good complaint against the entire religious community. Because the whole religious community in the world right now is Yaakov and his children. And what did they do? They sold him into slavery. They almost killed him. He would be very, very well excused, or he would feel very well excused saying, you know what? If that's what Judaism is, if that's what our relationship with God is, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm out of here. I'm doing whatever I want. It's time for me time right now. It's Yosef time. He could have easily said that. He had all the excuses and rationales in the world. He had been absolutely betrayed by all the people who were spiritual in the world, so to speak. And now he's got this beautiful woman, absolutely stunning. And the Talmud says, look at the Babylonian Talmud, the Gemara describing the seduction of Yosef. This is in the Gemara Yuma, Lamed Hayamad Beis, Tractate Yuma 35b. Amru alav al Yosef HaTzadik. Notice, by the way, Yosef is called the Tzadik. Yosef is the only one who's called the Tzadik, which we'll get to in a moment, the virtuous. It was told of Yosef the virtuous that the wife of Potiphar every day endeavored to entice him with the words. Every single day, all day long, saying, hey, of course, come on, you must be so lonely, come on. You don't think I look nice, what, this and that. The garments she put on for him in the morning, if it didn't work, she's like, I can't wear that again. Obviously that didn't work. She put on new garments every day. Maybe he'll find this attractive. Maybe he'll find that attractive, right? And the garment she put on in the evening, she's not wearing in the morning. She said to him, yield to me. And he said, no. She said, I'll have you imprisoned. If you don't yield to me, I'm going to throw you in prison. I've got power here. And what did he say? God releases the bound. She said, I'm going to lower your stature. He said, God raises those who are bowed down. She said, I'm going to blind your eyes. He said, God gives sight to the blind. She offered him 1,000 talents of silver, a fortune for one act, a fortune of money. He's a boy, he's penniless, he's living as a slave. And she's saying, here's fortune. You could go become a multimillionaire overnight. All you got to do is one thing. And mind you, his family is never going to find out about it. No one's going to find out about it. He's a nobody in Egypt, despised and thrown away by his family. And she's a beautiful woman begging him every single day. He's got to wear it. It's great. You know, there's a concept in psychology that our morality gets weaker when we exercise successive proper choices. Meaning, this whole study, we're like, people who choose, they do these games, these like morality games. They say, it's like whatever, these morality games, and they do them in psychology departments. So they do two things, where like a group is forced to do these morality games first, and there's a group that's not, and they're both brought to a table, and they can either choose fruit or cookies. And they find that the people who have already made all these proper moral choices are much more likely to go for the cookies. Because their morality has been, so to speak, has been worn out. Like, you get weary. It's called moral fatigue. That's the phrase for it in English. Moral fatigue. I've been good so many times. I already chose all these right moral choices. I'll just grab the cookie now. Imagine the moral fatigue of this woman every single day. And you're all the way away. And there are days that you have good days, and there are days that you have bad days. And she's there every day. Beautiful as anything. Gorgeous every day. New clothing, new perfume, new this, new that. And yet he holds off. What kind of enormous strength does that take? And it's at that moment that he becomes the tzaddik, the righteous one. We have names for all of our forefathers. Avram Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen, David HaMelech. We have names for our great leaders. Yosef is the only one. Yosef HaTzadik. He is the virtuous one. Because he withstood a test that none of us can even imagine. Yaakov knows that Yosef is the one who's going to be able to close off the one chink in his armor. The one chink in Yaakov's perfect armor of you're Israel, you're protected, you're part of the Jewish people. The one chink in the armor is in the area of sexuality. That's where people can lose out, and the uniqueness of the Jewish people can fall away. Who's going to be the one who teaches us to be strong in that exact area? Yosef. That's why Yaakov showed favoritism to Yosef, because he knew that Yosef had a very important mission. He knew that Yosef was going to complete his work. And as a matter of fact, it's a work they both did together. It says that, the source is not in your sheets, I'm sorry. But the source is, it says that when Yosef was in that room, when the wife of Potiphar was grabbing him, he saw a vision of his father. And it was sort of them together defeating this. Now you have to remember also, by the way, Potiphar, I didn't finish explaining how powerful her seduction technique was. She pointed to the stars and said, Joseph, look, in those days people were astrology experts. She said, look at the stars. The stars show that out of you and this house will come greatness for the Jewish people. Look at the stars! Do you not see it? And Joseph looks at the stars, and sure enough, it's exactly what it said, in the stars. In the stars, it was written, out of this house and Joseph will come greatness. Great leaders for the Jewish people. Can you imagine that part of the seduction technique? So she's saying to you, I'm not telling you to be bad. I'm telling you to fulfill your godly destiny. I'm telling you that you have a moral obligation to be with me. The Jewish people are relying on you to be with me. Greatness will come out of for the Jewish people out of you and this house. Now, by the way, fascinating, in the end, Yosef marries a woman who was actually part of the Potiphar household. Her name was Safnas Paneach. The word Safnas Paneach means the revealer of the hidden. What was she revealing? That it's true that greatness came out for the Jewish people from the house of Potiphar and Joseph. It just wasn't from Potiphar's wife. It was from this woman who was in the household, whose name was Safnas Paneach, who was later to be Yosef's wife. So the stars weren't lying. Potiphar's wife was just misinterpreting them.
Was she Jewish?
Yeah, she was. It's a complicated story who Safnas Paneach was. Well, there weren't Jews back then, right? Because Judaism, the actual Jews, starts at Mount Sinai. But she was of the family. It's a long story who Safnas Paneach was. Okay, and how she ended up in that household. Now, let's understand the answers now. Yaakov understood that Yosef had an incredibly important mission. And that was to seal off the chink in Yaakov's armor. And as a matter of fact, if you are familiar with the Kabbalistic sort of shapes, there's always a right side, a left side, and then a middle. We said it was already kindness, discipline, and tiferes, and the glory. That's Yaakov. If you look at the order, and it's interesting, the order for the Ashkenaz and for Sfard is different. Sfard is generally more Kabbalistic. If you look at the order of the Ushpizin, for example, the 7 guests, if you look in the Ashkenaz, goes Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, Aaron, David. They go in chronological order. The Sfard, the more Kabbalistic base, goes Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, which means that they align Yosef with his father. There's so much more to be said here. Understanding what that relationship, what the first 3 of the spheros are, what the next 3 of the spheros are. But the point is that Yosef is the 6th. His father is the 3rd. They are perfectly vertically aligned because he is here in this world to close off the gap in Yaakov's armor. And that's why Yaakov loves him more than his other children, so to speak, because he knows this is going to be the one who's going to finish off my destiny, ensure the sanctity of my destiny. And that's why he teaches him special Torah. And what Torah did he teach him? The Torah he learned in the house of Shem and Aver. Why did Yaakov specifically go to the house of Shem and Aver when he was running away from Esav? Because he knew he was about to go into the land of Lavan. And Lavan was a vile, vile man. And he said, who else do I know who lived in a vile, vile generation and was able to withstand all the tests? Oh, right. Shem. Because Shem was one of Noah's sons. And the entire world was vile in the time of Noah. And yet Shem was able to withstand all that temptation. I'm going to go learn from Shem and Aver. How did you guys do this? How did you live in a land that was so degraded and stay pure? For 14 years he learned that from Shem. And then he went down to Lavan. Now he knows that Yosef is going to end up going to a very, very dark place. The land of Egypt, awash with immorality. And is going to be tempted in the most challenging of ways possible. And it is going to be his success that will give the Jewish people the ability to stave off assimilation for the rest of history. So he says, come Yosef, I want to teach you very specific Torah. I want to teach you that which I learned from Shem. I want to teach you the kind of Torah that you need to fortify yourself when you're going to be living in a very, very vile place. In a very, very challenging place. And he teaches it to Yosef, and Yosef uses it. Now we asked, why were the brothers, so we know why he taught him specifically special Torah, because you say, it's not fair. Why did he teach him and not the rest of the brothers? Fair is not giving everybody the same thing. That's not what fair means. Ask any teacher or parent. Fair does not mean everybody gets the same thing. Fair means everybody gets what they need. If I have two children, one who is incredibly academically gifted, but struggles a lot with sports, and the other one who's just a great athlete, but struggles academically. If I say, well, you know what? We have to be fair. I'm going to spend half an hour with each one of you guys doing homework and half an hour playing ball. You're cheating both of your kids. Because the kid, who's the really academically smart kid, by the time he comes home, he already finishes homework. He did it on the bus in 5 minutes. He needs help. Daddy, can you teach me how to throw a ball? Daddy, can you teach me how to hit a baseball? Can you teach me how to ride a bike? I don't know. I'm not athletic. I don't get it. Please help me. Nope. Half hour of homework first. What? And then the other kid, who's the athlete, he doesn't need your help. He can throw a ball. He can ride a bike. He needs math help. Nope. Now let's go outside and ride a bike. I know how to ride a bike, Dad, but I'm going to fail these tests. Will you help me? Nope, we got to be fair. That's not fair. Giving everybody the same thing is not being fair. Fair means giving everybody what they need. Yosef needed special Torah instruction to be able to make it through this very difficult sojourn into Egypt, which is why Yaakov specifically taught it to him. Why were the brothers jealous of the coat and not the Torah? Because realistically, Yaakov was doing no wrong by teaching Yosef the Torah. But yet, the Talmud seems to indicate that Yaakov made a misstep. Sometimes you give somebody extra Torah instruction because he needs it, but he didn't need the extra coat. That's where Yaakov may have messed up a little bit. The Talmud seems to indicate so. And that's why the brothers were specifically jealous of that. Because deep down, there was an understanding that whatever, on a spiritual level, their neshamas knew that Yosef needed that Torah and they didn't need it. So they weren't jealous of that. But they were jealous of the silk coat. Because that was an outward expression of their father showing more favoritism to another child, which maybe Yaakov should not have done according to the Talmud. And that's why the brothers were jealous of that. What do we learn from this? How is this so relevant to our lives? Oh, man. We are all Yosefs today. For starters, we live in the 6th millennium. The number 6 is always related to Yosef. Because remember, the 7 Spheros, the 7 Ushpizin, the order is Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef. Yosef is the 6th. Yosef is Yesod. I would love to go for another hour with you guys, because you guys are amazing, and there's so much more to talk about. But I won't. We are in the 6th millennia right now. We are in the Elef Hashishi. We are in the time when our challenge is Yosef. Right now, in our time specifically, we see the massive challenge of assimilation in America. Right now, the rate of intermarriage in America for people who are not brought up in an Orthodox home is about 70%. Yeah. Oi. But we definitely, and it's so fascinating. Why do you think that's our challenge now? Because we live in the millennium of Yosef. We live in the 6th millennium. The 6th millennia is where we're challenged with the Yosef kind of challenges. So for starters, there's the focus that we need to have on preserving our Jewishness and making sure that we don't lose more. There are those that estimate that we've lost more potential Jews since the Holocaust through intermarriage and assimilation than we may have lost in the entire Holocaust. But there's more. I want to get, you're all thinking, it's okay, I'm not intermarried, whatever, you're thinking it doesn't apply to you. No, it applies to you too. I'll explain to you why. We live in a world today where we're all Yosefs. What do I mean? Yosef lived in Egypt. No one knew what he was going to do. He could have done this deed with wife Potiphar, and no one would have found out, right? Well, except for the fact that the Torah talks about it very clearly, and all of history would have known about it. But, in his mind, I'm just a guy sitting here all by myself, and I've got a world around me that no one knows about. I can do this. I can get away with it. We live in a world today where we have access to everything, and in the privacy of our own homes. With the invention of the internet and the pervasiveness of the internet, we can do whatever we want. We can be whoever we want. We can do whatever we want. I mean, there's entire, I don't know if you know this, but there's entire colonies of people, like being avatars. There are people who come home from work and get on their computer and assume this, meaning they have an avatar. There's a program called Second Life. I wrote a Shabbos email about it a long time ago. And it's still around, it's still active. There are millions of people coming home from work, and they log into their computer, and they log into Second Life, and they've got an avatar, and they go around, they chat with their friends, They go out to eat together. Of course, then it's virtual eating. But people actually pay money. People pay real dollars to buy beautiful houses in their Second Life world. I know we're over time. I'm sorry. We live in a world where we're all given the Yosef challenge. Because whatever we do, no one finds out about it. We live in a little world, all to our own. And that's why we're living the 6th generation. We're living the 6th millennium. This is our time, my friends. This is our time to learn from Yosef. This is our time to build that resilience, because what makes you a tzaddik, because again, Yosef is the only one who's called a tzaddik. What makes you a tzaddik is not what you do in shul. And it's not what you do at the community center, and it's not what you do when you bring over the cake or this. That is also, of course, important. But if you want to be a tzaddik, the key to unlock the storehouse of tzaddik is in what you do when no one's finding out about it. Do you have the ability to see the image of Yaakov, your father, and to make the right choices, even when there's so much beckoning to you? So much rottenness, so much vileness, so much filth beckoning to you. Come, drown yourself in me. So, my friends, we are in the generation of the Yosef. May we all be able to gain power from this tzaddik, this incredible, righteous human being. And his DNA runs in all of us. We all have the 7 shepherds. We all have the 7 shepherds running inside of us. Let's seize the strength of Yosef and say no. Take the lessons that he learned from his father, who learned it from Shem and Eber, going all the way back, and be able to be a bulwark of strength and power in a time of chaos. Thank you very much. Have a good week.